this podcast will fail. Mostly because nobody's going to listen to it. But you might prove me wrong. Who knows? And welcome to episode 24. This podcast will fail. I'm just some guy. Who I am and where I am is completely irrelevant. I am simply here to share my thoughts with you on whatever happens to come up today. I would certainly invite you to follow along, but I don't really have a way for you to engage with me as I continue on this experiment of what it happens when you simply create content and put it out there for the world, but you don't go ballistic trying to advertise it and trying to promote it and trying to, beg, borrow, and steal people to listen to it and get the views and clicks and all that nonsense. No, this is simply me having a daily conversation, mostly with myself, but with whoever out there might stumble across this thing and decide that it's worth a listen to you. Now, I've also gone into these daily podcasts generally with some idea of what it is I want to talk about that day. And the whole entire first season of this conversation was built around my time as a digital content creator, YouTuber, and podcaster, and the other stuff that I've done. And that was easy pickings, not too hard for me to come up with stuff to talk about. That was the first 20 episodes. But now, of course, the mission and the goal is to put the spotlight not on myself and the things that I've done and not done in my life, but on the world around me, on the people that I deal with, the people that I interact with, the things I see happening, in every corner of society. And by golly, there's certainly enough to talk about there. Today, I want to talk specifically about an interaction I had with one of the long-term internet friends that I made a very long time ago. And a little bit of an offhand comment that he made yesterday on one of my social media posts that I found a little bit concerning. And I became even more concerned when I saw his responses and his behavior and activity after the fact. So, okay, there's a little bit of a setup there. Let me tell you about this guy. I, in some ways, can say I love this guy. Right? He's a great guy. He can be, and he has been. But I think the world is getting to him a little bit. This is somebody I met through my internet radio days all those decades ago. This person started as a listener to my radio show and soon became a kind of a member of a peanut gallery in a chat room and became more and more acquainted. This is an individual who is a creator in his own right. And he dabbled in it as well, and we had a lot of great conversations, a lot of great interactions, super supportive, and even to this day, he's always been super supportive of everything I've done, always cheering me on, always almost yelling at me for not going after more and getting more for myself out of this world and what he believes to be my talent. Okay. So, I had many different touch points with him throughout the last 15 years, right? I've helped him start radio shows. I connected him apparently with another fan of the show, and the two of them ended up being in a relationship for several years. And unfortunately that didn't last. People grow, people change, but I made that love connection just on the basis of having these two people meet on my show. He's a lot of things. He's an actor. He's a musician. He's a hard worker. He's a self-reliant kind of, I don't need nobody and nothing kind of dude. And I've always kind of respected that. right? I can tell you that he worked hard in the film community in the great state of Georgia for many, many years. His face is on some movie posters. His mug appears briefly in a whole lot of interesting, walk-on, non-speaking roles on some blockbuster movies. He's done well for himself. He's dealt with the entertainment industry and some of the BS that comes from production companies and casting companies and the way that they abuse artists and blah-de-blah. There's a whole bunch there, but that's not what we came to talk about today. So I got to give this guy a name so I can at least work towards referencing him. Yesterday, when I was talking about the guy that made some stupid political comments that used to be an employee of mine, I came up with the name Matt is who I decided to call him, just pulling a name out of thin air. This one, I'm going to go ahead and say that this guy's name is Tim. Let's go with Tim. All right. Timmy Turner, right? That's where we're if you have kids, they might have watched Fairly Odd Parents, so it's Timmy Turner. So, I have watched Tim be a very independent person for a very long time. He's no holds barred. He says it like it is, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. I would see him a lot of times posting on his own personal social media that he is there to do whatever you need done for the right price. He will film your wedding. He will fix your porch. He will, he's got a whole suite of abilities and talents to meet pretty much any need as an independent contractor just trying to make a buck under the table and move through life that way. That's who Tim is. And again, I've always respected him for that and for his work ethic and his enthusiasm. And I've benefited, right? He's been, as I said, a very vocal supporter of all of the creative projects that I've ever been a part of or started. And what else can I be but grateful, for that? It's another individual that found what I do interesting enough and believed in it enough to promote me and to say, wow, this guy's amazing. Go look at him, and just, again, cheerlead me a lot of times from behind the scenes saying, nah, man, don't give up. Keep pushing. You're great. You're better than this. You can do it. Go, go, go. Again, what can I be but grateful? So we can bring that conversation forward now to yesterday. And it's hit and miss. I haven't had a heck of a lot of conversations with Tim lately. But it got into the thing that is now clearly the number one thing that's ripping America apart at its very seam. And that is politics. And politics is exhausting, right? We all believe what we believe. We all have our reasons for believing what we believe. And it tests friendships and it tests patience and, it strains relationships. And unfortunately, as of yesterday and then even into today, I find myself seeing that this relationship is now tested and stressed over a political item. So, all right, I got to decide how I'm going to walk down this, because I don't want you necessarily to know who I am, right? If anybody is even listening 9 minutes in here, thank you, and I appreciate you, but I highly doubt that anybody sticks onto this content for that long. Can I get an amen, right? And then there's nowhere for you to actually say amen other than maybe you'll keep listening to this babble as I continue on. But still, I don't want to be terribly obvious about who I am and what I believe in necessarily. I just want to use the context of a political conversation that turned into a very tense, not quite argument. And the way that Tim responded to what I posted genuinely took me back. And then when I answered that response with a nothing more than a clarifying statement, not a you're an idiot, not a how dare you, not you're wrong, but a clarifying statement of my position and my beliefs. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. But I'm no stranger to having, interpersonal relationships really flat out ruined by political disagreement within my own family, even to that level, where I've not spoken to my next older brother in a very long time over politics. And he became very vocal and very outspoken and very in your face about his political views to everyone and everything. And over the course of time, I just got sick and tired of the arguments. I don't want to discuss this with you anymore. And yet, at that point, for my brother, everything revolved around political philosophy and just day-to-day life. And there were no boundaries for him. There was no taboo in going after people that he disagreed with. And ultimately it led to me just walking away, and not off in a huff, not a F you, go to hell, I'm done with none of that, right? I'm not a confrontational person by nature. That's just not who I am. I generally try to build myself as a consensus builder, or at least somebody who is interested in having a substantive conversation when I disagree with somebody. But in the case of my brother, later, I'm done. I don't have time for you. I don't need you. Good luck. And certainly over the years in the digital world, I've had good friends that went so far off the deep end. And here's the difference, is when somebody makes it personal. When somebody takes a disagreement of political philosophy and turns it into a you suck, you are a bad person, you are wrong, you are an idiot, whatever, right? And you can see it happening everywhere. And that's not just among complete strangers in comment sections. That is among family units. That is among friend groups, that people are finding themselves so angered by the belief system of somebody else that they resort to personal attack. That's not me. I don't do that. I may do it to strangers, but I don't do it to those people that I that I love and trust, or that I value as somebody within my sphere of life. I can't think of any one person in particular off the top of my head that ever cut me off and blew up in my face and told me to go to hell and blocked me or anything like that. But I've certainly done that with a few folks where I've just, my brother among them. I remember one guy, a good friend for a long time online, and again, somebody that had something in common because he was a real radio guy and I was an internet fake radio guy, but he was very supportive of what I was doing. And just turned on a dime on me one day over one particular political issue. I think it was gun rights. And the conversation just devolved so quickly on his end into just blasting me apart on a personal level for what I believed. And so I had to, okay, bud, good luck to you. I have no time for such things in my life. And I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why it has to go to that level nowadays. Why you can't just have a real conversation and sort out differences, or at least look for some level of consensus, just to try and maybe for half a second put yourself in someone else's shoes. Because this is my philosophy. My philosophy is always, I want to understand the person that I am quote unquote squaring off against. I want to know this person's motivations and understand them from an honest perspective, right? I don't go into any such conversation just to blast, right? Just to fire off every nastygram comment I can think of. It's I want to know where this is coming from. I want to understand you. I'm not usually successful in that, because people, I think by and large, are not interested in substantive conversation anymore. I think people just want to be entrenched in what they believe in their personal dogma on one side or the other, and Doesn't matter which, and everybody just does that. Everybody digs in their heels and shakes their head and says the other person's a moron, and just stops dealing with it. I try not to do that, but here I am finding myself with let's get back to Tim. And yesterday, I made a comment regarding a current political issue, not the one you think, but something that was happening up there in Washington, and something that somebody said that was pretty stupid, and I called it out. And I said, well, yeah, I agree. That's pretty stupid, and that person should be held accountable for what they said. Tim apparently took issue with my position, and the comment that he made really left me scratching my head. I'm at a loss here. And he said to me, now I'm really honestly stalling for time as we hit the 16-minute mark, and I'm still convinced that nobody's listening, but maybe you made it this far, who knows? Thanks for coming along. I'm almost done. Stick with me, non-existent listener. So I found the actual thread. I wanted to find it. And here Tim says to me, why are you offended? It's not like it's this. I'm not going to say what the this is because I don't want you to know what the topic is, but that's okay. Doesn't matter what the topic is. And I wrote back. I said, Tim, it's not this. Factually speaking, it's this, right? And this is a long-standing understood thing that when somebody says this thing, it's not. And I'm not going to read verbatim here, but it's part of the political argument, not based on anything in factual basis. That was my response. And it wasn't to, again, I didn't say anything in that comment that was an attack on him. It was simply pointing out, I'm sorry, but you're wrong, because here's why this is what this means. Here's some factual information to show what I'm saying, and that I think you don't have a clear understanding of it. Let me help try to facilitate a conversation so I can show you what this means. That's a whole lot more words than I actually typed. And I can tell you, I'm looking at my phone right now, and I'm looking at the thread, and I did not attack him in any way personally, right? The response back I get from him is, wow, guy, I'm holding back. Holding back on what? Holding back on telling me that I'm a moron? Right? There's a lot of loaded sentiment behind that statement, pal. And I had no choice but to reply myself and say, hey, you know what, Tim, based on that response, I'm surprised to say, but I am holding back too. And I didn't say this, but I'm sad to see that I had to hold back. And I don't get it. This guy, I think, generally has always been kind of middle of the road, not one political side or the other, but I think maybe he was one more than the other. I thought that maybe he was a little bit more aligned with me, given who he is and what he's done with his life, but apparently I was very wrong. And I watched over the course of yesterday and even into this morning, where now on his personal Facebook wall, he's posting all kinds of stuff about, this will be the year when Tim gets unfriended, and you'll see, I speak for myself. Dude, I don't care. I'm not unfriending you. I'm not kicking you to the curb because I disagreed with you, but there's like this weird defense mechanism, I guess. I don't understand it necessarily, but that's the reality. That's where we are right now, and I gotta admit, I don't know if it's even worth trying to pursue the conversation any further. I tend to let people remove me rather than remove them. And when you say things on this page like, friendship is not designed to last a lifetime, and if it does, it's by choice, not by chance. Okay, bro, I still love you, man, but you gotta get over it. That can't be the sum total of a relationship you've had with somebody for the better part of 15 years online. Granted, we've never met and whatever, but I just don't see it. So, all right, I should wrap it up there. I just wanted to make that point, but I appreciate anybody that was here listening, and hopefully I'll have something less divisive to talk about tomorrow. All right, have a good one.